if I'm able to go out to other places, there probably would be something like that. So that's a thing. Fraser, you can give me a thumbs up if you're ready right now. You might not hear me. Actually, I just really, oh, I got a thumbs up. Hey, hey, latency, guys. Latency matters. I get 2 thumbs up in my peripheral. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm going to get this all configured. Because you, what a nerd. Look at him. Oh, man. Okay. Can anybody see? There he is, guys. Here is Fraser. There he is in all of his glory. Can you guys see him? Everything's good. I'm going to keep that Pluto. I'm going to keep Pluto in there just so nobody gets offended. People will get offended if I cut out your Pluto poster.
It doesn't say whether it's a planet or not. Oh, I see. You're going to make the space so it fits.
Yes, yes. But I'm going to keep Pluto in there with intention. I might have to increase my cam size, but worth it.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear him okay? Everybody. Hello, Fraser.
How's it going?
How are you doing?
Very well. You had a whole pile of questions come up that I think I need to answer, right?
Yeah, go for it. Just fire off.
Binoculars.
Uh-huh.
So I'm using a pair of Celestron 15 by 75 binoculars. I think they're 15 by 75s. Yes. And they are great. I highly recommend them. They're about, you can get them on sale for like $50 and, 75, and you can see all kinds of things with them. So you can see the moons of Jupiter, you can see the rings of Saturn, you can see craters on the moon. And then you can see a lot of sort of cool deep sky objects as well, like globular clusters, open star clusters, Andromeda, things like that. So highly recommend. If anyone's ever interested in getting into astronomy, start with a pair of binoculars, because the telescope side of it gets pretty bonkers.
Yeah, because I don't think I've actually had those kind. I know they were Celestron, but I know I couldn't see deep sky objects. They would still appear pretty fuzzy. Are those fuzzy? Or is Andromeda and...
Oh yeah, it's all going to be fuzzy. Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing with astronomy, is until you, like for Saturn and Jupiter, it's mind blowing, right? You see Jupiter and Saturn in a small telescope, and you can't believe your eyes. But to see some of those deep sky objects, you really need a camera attached to a very solid mount telescope, and that starts to get a little more expensive.
Yeah, and so you can see Messier objects, guys. That's what those fuzzy things are.
You could see a bunch with your eyes.
Yeah, you can. The Pleiades you can see.
Mm-hmm. Pleiades, Orion Nebula, Andromeda. You can see the Triangulum Galaxy. Yeah, Andromeda's
pretty hard for me to see, though. I have to go pretty remote. Yeah, I have to go maybe 15 miles, so it's like nothing. But
yeah. Well, where are you located? You're on the East Coast. Where are you?
No, I'm in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, okay, so you've got dark skies that you can reach pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm right next to Phil Plait. I live right next to where he lives, so it's pretty. It's pretty nice. I can. He's like, no, I live in the country area. I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm right there.
Yeah.
But
no, I can see Andromeda. I can't see it from my backyard. I can see the Milky Way from my backyard. And then if I go out of town a little bit, I can see Andromeda and some of those other deep sky objects.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to see the Milky Way, though, isn't it?
No, not from my backyard. I can see it.
Yeah, for the U.S.
Yeah. It's, I think you don't have to get too far out of the city. So do you ever use the Deep Sky Finder? Do you ever use that website?
We have the Dark Sky.
Yeah, Dark Sky Finder. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I live in a green area, and I can see the Milky Way and the star, and thousands of stars on a nice clear night. And so for a lot of people, if they can just get out to one of the green zones, it's not so bad.
Yeah, and is that map updated? Because I think we were looking at it the other day, and it said something like this map hasn't been updated, so it's probably gotten worse.
Oh, probably, yeah. Yeah, it's probably gotten worse.
Yeah, but that's a great tool, too. I was looking at other things here locally for us to do, because I'm trying to get a backpack so I can go on the road with Twitch and do some of this astronomy stuff.
Wow.
Kind of what you've done. So actually, that's kind of what I want to talk to you about at first. And then
Sure.
there's other questions that obviously someone said, can you see Pluto with those? No.
But we did bring Pluto into the virtual star party once.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was that tough?
We got them all. We got Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, a lot of the big asteroids. We found a supernova, but we didn't realize it.
What?
Yeah, we discovered a supernova that went off in a galaxy. And if you actually find the clip, one of the people's going, oh, this galaxy is known for having supernova go off quite a lot in it. But there's not one there right now. And little did we realize that, yes, there was one there right now. And had we noticed, we would have gotten the discovery because it was in our footage from the night that we did it. And someone else announced it the next day. And we happened to be looking at that galaxy that night, and the supernova was right there, clear as day.
Oh,
and so from that point on, Dave Dickinson, who was one of our people, he would just scan every single galaxy very carefully from that point on to make sure that we never missed another supernova discovery.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Oh.
Yeah, we had good times.
Yeah. So how did this all come about? Like, what made you? Because again, I just had I was on CosmoQuest X just a little bit ago, and we were talking about how I was a graduate of computer science. You are as well. So how did that transition work for you? And then also, how did these star parties start happening?
So how did the transition go from me being in computer science to me being a science journalist?
Yes.
Sure. So I've always been interested in space and astronomy, even as a little kid. I bought my own telescope when I was 14. I used to organize star parties for the people on my tiny island off the west coast of Canada. And as I went to high school, I was in the journalism program there, and I actually wrote articles about things you could see in the night sky, which was pretty hilarious. And then I went off to university to go to engineering, and then sort of started working for some computer, just some software startups in the Vancouver area back in 1993, 90 to 95, 97. So worked with or started a bunch of software companies, and just, but I wanted to sort of have an outlet for some of my hobbies like astronomy. And so I started up Universe Today, which is my website now, on the side, just as a way to just learn more about space and astronomy and just sort of try to sort of share that knowledge. And within a couple of months, I'm like, oh, this is all I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I went into, over the next couple of years, I was able to transition out of working in the software world and moved into being a science journalist. And I haven't looked back. I've been doing this job now for in March, it'll be 20 years.
Wow. And then so also Astronomy Cast came up along with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of little pieces to it, right? That, 20 years ago, I was writing everything on the interwebs and sending out an email newsletter. And then since then, I have added, we did the Astronomy Cast podcast. We started doing that 10 years ago. About 5 years ago, we started doing some of these live video streams. I started doing all these videos that you've been sharing on YouTube in the last couple of years. So it's just been sort of a steady progression as we learn more and more about how to work all this media.
Yeah. And so one of the questions that I've never asked, but it's just hit my brain right now. How did you and Dr. Pamela meet?
So I had this idea for doing a podcast. So, I mean, people who work with me know someone actually, oh man, I wish someone had posted a quote about this, but the gist is like, I inflict change on everyone around me. Right. And because I'm constantly trying to figure out what's next, how can we take the various tools that are at our disposal and use those to communicate astronomy and science and things better. And so podcasting came out, and that was perfect. I loved it. I had a new kid at the time. I had to do a lot of walking to get her to bed, to get her to sleep, and the stroller. And I was like looking for things that I could listen to, and found podcast, and it was just match made in heaven. And I loved the genre and wanted to make a podcast. And so I came up with, but I didn't want to, and so I wanted to have something that was a little different from the other podcasts that were out there. I wanted something that could sort of stand the test of time and be more conversational, sort of based on a bunch of podcasts that I really liked. So I pitched it to my friend Phil Plate. I'm like, hey, I got this idea where it's just like a conversation between me and an astronomer. And Phil goes, that sounds great, but I'm super busy. But there's this Pamela Gay woman who was doing this other podcast at the time, and they just wrapped that up, Slacker Astronomy, and said, she'd be a really good fit for you. So I contacted her. Within a week, we did the first episode and have been doing the show ever since.
That's awesome. And if anybody in here hasn't checked that out, I strongly encourage it. It's in the link here to the guest command. All of the stuff about our guest today is there, including all the stuff with Universe Today and Astronomy Cast, all the stuff he does. And again, like I said, his Twitter is a great resource. If you guys want to know what's going on, new news, great resource for you guys to hear some of that news that's coming out there. So wait, someone said there was other questions too.
What else did I see?
Well, wait.
So just talking about the virtual star parties, you want to know how that came about. And so, I mean, that little documentary really kind of explained it, which was, once we started to play with these Google Hangouts, which was the old technology, kind of like the Zoom meeting that we're doing right now, I wanted to figure out a way that we could get a telescope into the Hangout so that we could live stream the kinds of events that were going on in space. And so there was a guy in Germany, and he had a telescope, and he was willing to sort of be a guinea pig for us. And we were able to sort of get to a point where he had just taken his webcam and had connected it up to his camera or to his telescope and was able to just broadcast a live view of the moon. And at that point I was like, okay, I see. So we can, we figured out the technology, like, for each individual person, and would sort of work with each astronomer. They came with their own telescope, and we would figure out how to get the view from their telescope into the Hangout. And after a while, we had about 20 or 30 different astronomers across the world who were able to join us on a regular basis, depending on their weather and depending on their time commitments, and broadcast. And it was great because sometimes we would have, like, some people were in Australia, and so they were broadcasting during the daytime. So we would have the sun in the daytime, and at the same time that we'd have the we'd have the moon and other objects at night. And it was great, and it was a lot of fun, but it was really, really hard work. And the biggest problem was that you're so dependent on the weather and the sort of just the energy levels of the individual people involved, because it was a big commitment to go and stand out with your telescope at night and try to sort of fuss with the technology to get it into the live stream. So we went a bunch of weeks where nobody could show up, and we had to keep canceling the Hangouts, and it was just sort of exasperating. And at that point, we just kind of went, I think we can't continue to do this in its sort of current state. And so we put the whole thing, we sort of retired the virtual star parties at the time, and went on to work on projects that we could, and then that's when I started working on my guide to space videos, which you just showed one of the super telescope ones, I think. So so that was, and so I've been kind of waiting for a more dependable technology platform that we can use as a baseline, and then have astronomers join us on top of that. And so we've got this new partnership with Oceanside Photo and Telescope, and they're building these really cool kind of remote observatories across the United States and eventually across the world. And so we'll be able to have, if one of the astronomers can't bring their telescope, they can just operate one of these remote observatories. And so we should be able to always have multiple telescopes every week. So we are bringing the virtual star parties back. It's probably gonna have a different name, but we're gonna be bringing that back within the next few weeks, month.
Oh, wow.
And hopefully we'll just keep going from there. And then I will just, continue to sort of see what I can do to push it. But it's, the technology is different now. The telescopes are better. The imaging software is better. So it's going to be a much better experience.
And will you guys will be live streaming that on YouTube, I'm guessing?
I don't know. Yeah, definitely on YouTube. And I've been thinking about doing it on Twitch as well. they're just different platforms.
They're
So
very different.
yeah, and so one of the things that I really like to figure out is just like what is the right format for the right platform, and that's I just figured that out by playing around with the technology and sort of seeing how the audience responds to what we're doing. But it'll probably be both.
Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
that Twitch just recently introduced this low latency stuff, which has been really weird because I'm used to this 30-second delay with my chat, but
Yeah.
it's kind of weird now. I can respond to them within 3 seconds. So it's
So it used to be 30 seconds and now it's 3 seconds.
yeah. So there's some people that might have a delay of less than 3 seconds. But it's very, very interesting. Live stream on Twitch too. Yeah. And there is a place for this, and that's what I'm really trying to build this.
Yeah. And so I think, what I think we'll do is, something that Squeak Addict is saying sort of what's my thinking as well, which is I think we're going to have sort of a more highly produced version of it where we've got cool video intros for the different astronomers and showing sort of where they are and what their telescope setup is, and like mini little documentaries about each one of them. And like, let's have Stellarium going where we're showing what parts of the night sky we're going to be observing tonight, and let's stick to a very rigid time frame and really try to make a show that's pretty tight. And then at the same time, for a lot of the other sort of testing and experimenting and taking requests and things like that, that feels like it's more of a Twitch thing where the kind of we don't have to necessarily keep people really focused. And I guess Crimson Ghost is saying we can stream both formats at the same time. Yeah, it's an interesting point. I don't know whether I would ever become an affiliate or partner. So, maybe that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Is do them both at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that's what Dr. Paul does, is that he does them at the same time with Space Radio. So
yeah.
And they do have a Patreon, guys. Like everybody involved with all this stuff, there's ways to support them. All of those links there, you go there, you will find that. So
yeah.
It's very important, and that's kind of one of the things that I've been taking up is, I would love to even stream this, because I could go to this location where you guys are running these things if there's ever a meetup that you guys do, and impose myself. And then and then Twitch could be there too. Because I know that I've had so many people ask me for a telescope stream, and I was able to do one with the solar eclipse that we had last summer, at the end of summer. But, it's really difficult since mine are all manual. I was having to run up and down. I had my roommate monitoring, where the sun was. So it's.
Yeah, well, see, and that's the thing, right, is that I know that for you, like when I do this kind of thing, right, like I can't have a telescope running. It is using up all my cognitive load just to be able to run the stream and manage the conversations and interact with the audience and things like that, to then troubleshoot a telescope and things like that. It's just madness. So this is why OPT is really coming to our rescue on this. And so I'm sure we'll be able to once I've got that set up, I would be glad to show up and bring some live observing into your stream or whatever, whatever you want to do.
No, that would be great, because people, I think it's been a huge request and one that I can't really oblige. I also, at that time, I took my daughter out of school because, they weren't observing the solar eclipse because it's a liability. So I took her out of school. So I had her running around while trying to manage the stream. Yep. And so it was a lot of fun, though. And I think that it was really cool that people could see that I had that ability. But again, so this does exist out there, guys. And that's so awesome that it's coming back. I had no idea. There was somebody asking, is it ever going to come back?
Yeah. No, it is always in my mind as one of the favorite things that I love to do. But it was getting to a point where every week we were having to say, I'm sorry, we have to cancel it. Yeah. And it was heartbreaking. And to kind of play with people's expectations like that is really hard. And it's really hard. It was really wearing on just the volunteer astronomers, right? But just because it's, it's one thing to kind of show up and go, this is really fun, I'm having a great time. And then the week after that, I'm like, yeah, I guess I can, but I'm hanging out with my family tonight. And then the week after that, after a while, you kind of go, we really need to have something that that doesn't wear on the astronomers so much. So
So
that's
where are
the
these locations?
they're sort of all across the Midwest, right? Or sorry, the Southwest right now. So California, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, and then eventually, hopefully, all the way across the planet, and even a space telescope.
That would be
Yeah,
everybody's. We're gonna wait like the 3 seconds for people to say like Poggers, PogChamp, but it will be there in a second. But that's incredible. So,
yeah,
and so this is something that. How long have you guys been working on restarting this whole thing? Because I know that a lot of people were talking about this earlier in my chat.
yeah. How long have we been working on restarting this?
Yeah, the star parties.
I would say about 2-3 months. So, been talking with the owner. So, Oceanside Photo and Telescope is pretty much the best, one of the best places to buy the sort of the higher end gear, like the really fancy telescopes and really fancy cameras. And the new owner, Dustin, purchased it off of the old owner, Craig Weatherwax, who was just like sort of a legend in the astronomy community. And he's really enthusiastic, and he's actually supplying a bunch of the astronomy gear that we're going to be taking on our Costa Rica trip,
Hmm.
which is next March, and also on the cruise that we're doing in September. So, yeah, it's he's sort of a really great partner. And I sort of explained to him, because he's like, whatever you want to do, I want to try and get involved in some of the online projects you work on. And I said, well, I've been thinking about um, starting up the virtual star party, and I sent him the video that you broadcast, and it's like, what would it take to be able to make that happen? But I need a very specific kind of setup, which is you know, like a lot of the really nice pictures of the night sky are done on these black and white CCDs,
Hmm.
and they're, they're great, and especially when you take 3 pictures at 1 hour long exposures, merge them in Photoshop, and and post it to your Instagram feed. But that is not the kind of sort of thing that will keep people entertained on a live stream. So he set up um a special, really fast refractor telescope. So kind of like the one that's behind me
Uh-huh.
here,
Yeah.
but with a color CCD camera on it. So it's going to be fast, and it's going to be able to take really nice color images of objects in the night sky. And so we're going to be sort of playing around with like, how fast can we get images out of this telescope to be able to kind of keep the kids entertained.
Yeah, and
So that's the
that
plan.
that leads on to the next question. So someone I just posted a link to the Astro Tours, guys. It's right there. How did you get it? Because that's something, again, I didn't know that this was a thing at all. And I learned about this recently, and I was like, again, this is one of the polls for me to do that IRL backpack, because if I could go and just even show people doing this stuff and talking about this stuff. How did you get involved with that?
With Astro Tours,
Mm-hmm.
Uh oh man. So well, this is Dr.
Right.
Paul Sutter's gig, and he's like the hardest working man in space show business. And he's got a lot of great projects on the side. He's got a book in the works. He's got he helped kickstart an interpretive dance set to talking about space and astronomy.
Of
He's
course he
done,
did.
yeah, of course he did. Yeah. And all kinds of other things, right? He's tried to do television shows, and he does radio shows and stuff. So, um, one of the ideas that he had been kicking around was to do some kind of astronomy related trip,
Hmm.
you know, where, because there's lots of tours where, people go to all kinds of places, Italy, Iceland, you name it. But a lot of those are actually very interesting from an astronomy perspective, and so the thought that we had was like, would people want to go on a tour and hang out with us, and actually get a chance to see some of the stuff, but have us there at their disposal to answer questions, and learn about the night sky, and learn about, just hang out with people who they enjoy their content. And so we put together this initial one. Paul's mom is a tour guide, or
Hmm.
is a tour travel agent, so it's sort of
Hmm.
a good connection. And so they plotted out this initial one to Iceland, and that was back in February. And so we promoted that one, and we went to Iceland with about 30 people. And that was a party. We had a great time and saw mediocre auroras. Not as nice as that one that you showed,
Yeah.
that I saw from here at my own home. But we got a chance to see, volcanoes and glaciers, and we had a crazy snowstorm, and it was a lot of fun. It was a really great time. And we had also planned this next one, which is this cruise, which is going to be in September. And then we'd also been talking about this next one, which is in Costa Rica. And the goal is to just say, like, can we do a couple of these a year? Do we have enough people that want to join us that we can afford to pay for it? And it seems to be, so far, we're able to sell them all out. Paul's already sold out the one where he's going to the Atacama Desert in Chile. So you should definitely, I'm sure he's talked to you at some point. He's, and now finding more science communicators who actually want, who have an audience and have people that would want to kind of do this kind of thing and go with them. So Pamela is going to be doing one in the American Southwest, and Ethan Siegel is going to be doing Iceland, sort of in our footsteps. And there's a bunch more coming. So he's just kind of ramping up this as a business.
And were you guys surprised with the response? Did you expect this many people to be this interested?
Well, I mean, we're keeping it pretty small right now.
But still.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, I looked at the cost of it and stuff.
Yeah, I know some of them are pretty expensive. I mean, the thing is, like, that's what those tours cost anyway, right?
Right.
And so it's kind of like, if you were already going to do a tour to Costa Rica, then why not hang out with us? Or if you're already going to go on a cruise, why not do one that you hang out with us? So people want to know what my telescope is.
Yeah. That's not a show.
No, it's not a show telescope.
That's a real one.
It's a Stellar View 70 millimeter apochromatic refractor on a Scientific Instruments mount. And the mount actually is a monster, and it's really heavy, and it's a pain to carry it anywhere. But it's a beautiful telescope, and I personally like refractors. I just really like the sort of the quality and the view that you can see through refractors. So there you go. Nice find.
I know.
That's
quick.
The telescope.
I'm quick on it. I'm good like that. Will humanity survive when Andromeda and the Milky Way merge? Here comes the questions. Let's go.
Well, I mean, it's going to happen in, like, what, 5 billion years or something? And how many times you should, like, keep. I'll bet you've answered this question about 1,000 times, but no. I mean, when they merge, the chances of the stars actually smashing into each other are super remote. So the galaxies are going to be like a swarm of bees that are just going to pass through each other. There's going to be increased star formation and things like that, but the effects will be pretty mediocre. But the thing is that the sun is already heating up, and in probably the next 500 million to about 1 billion years, it's already going to wipe out all life on the surface of the Earth and boil our oceans away. So don't worry about it. You'll already be dead.
Yeah, that's not something you have to worry about. And well, to further that, so how common are star collisions? Are they very common, stellar collisions?
No, they seem to almost never happen. There's a couple of places where they have seen them, like in globular clusters. So there's these weird things called blue stragglers, which are these sort of bizarre, like in globular clusters, you would expect all the stars to be, they all formed at the same time, and you'd expect them to be really old. So it's very strange that they're finding these blue stars inside, these hot blue stars inside these globular clusters. And the thought is that they were the result of a collision between two stars, and that sort of reignited the age and youth and made it pretend to be a young star again. So if a star consumes another star, then it gets a second chance at youth.
Yeah, and those are very interesting systems too, because even here in Space Engine, I could show people the globular clusters, which are effectively like the retirement homes of stars. That's where they go, they live, they hover above and below our Milky Way galaxy, and they are this nice spheroid shape. they're not these open clusters. And yeah, there's some blue stars in there, and I click in them and I'm like, no guys, these are really old stars. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Well, and so globular clusters are one of my favorite things to see with binoculars. You can absolutely see them, like the M13, which is the one in Hercules.
Mhm.
Super easy to find, you know, and it looks just great in binoculars and small telescopes. So
I'm trying to pull up M13. Let's see. Hi, stream. So someone says, does that apply to? Oh yeah, that's pretty. Actually, that's very pretty.
Yeah, so that's the best star cluster that we can see from the northern hemisphere, and then the people from the southern hemisphere have the Omega cluster, which is even better. But we can't see it from here anyway.
I have a canvas print of that because that one's amazing. Let's see. Someone said they had a good question. Does that apply to humans? If I bump another person hard enough, do I look younger? No.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. It's a vampire thing, right? So if you suck another human's blood, is that how that works? Anyway.
Yeah. So Satan has a question. I don't think.
Is that how you read that? Okay. Of course.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
well, sometimes
That's
I'm
awesome.
not that great. I know.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. Like I've become better at this leet speak. Please tell us if there's an asteroid headed straight for our house of a certain color. Kappa.
Troll face. I've learned this on Twitch. That's the troll face, right?
Yes, that means I'm not serious.
I'm not serious. Yeah. But did you hear an asteroid just flew past the Earth yesterday, 2 days ago?
No.
Within the distance between the Earth and the moon. It was like a mountain-sized asteroid. Yeah, it was pretty close.
And so how many people are upset about this and worked up about it and saying, how do you guys miss that?
Well, it had been found and it had been lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then it had been found again just a little while ago. And so, yeah, I'm sure plenty of people were worked up about it.
Yeah, because I get
remember that you live in a cosmic shooting gallery.
Yeah. And so again, why do you know why they didn't pick up that it was going to be coming this close or?
Man, I don't remember specifically. I can see what we reported on it. Hold on.
Yeah, this is the nice thing about being live is that you actually can do that. You can be like, hold on, let me just look it up real quick.
Let me just find out.
Let me go to Google University.
So it was discovered on November 30th, 2010. So they've known this one, and then it was lost after a 10-day observation window and then not recovered until just earlier this month. And it's 71 meters across. So it's the size of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still big though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's about 3 times as big as the Chelyabinsk meteor.
Okay.
So, but it was, no problem. It didn't come anywhere, didn't get in any dangerous place. And so, but just reminder that there are asteroids zipping past the Earth all the time.
Someone said the sun may fail sooner. Have you guys seen those gigantic objects seemingly sucking the sun's energy and plasma?
Whoa.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, no kidding.
I have not seen that sci-fi movie yet.
No. Is it when they go and they send a spaceship to the sun to try and save it?
Is this some Doctor Who stuff?
Yeah, maybe.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's possible that it might be on the Nibiru video on YouTube that has its date changed every 3 days or so to predict that Nibiru is coming next week.
So I got to admit, I'm not very privy to this YouTube culture of Nibiru. What can you enlighten me?
It's not a YouTube thing. It's it's
an internet thing.
It's an internet thing. Yeah.
So what is this? Because you just spoke about it like they're changing something, a date. What?
Right. Well, so there's a bunch of people that are running videos on YouTube that are making tons and tons of money from people for freaking people out, and they just leave the video up, and then they just keep changing the date for when Nibiru is going to come past the Earth and flip our poles and realign our chakras, and people are starting to catch on to the fact that they've just been doing this, and they're making a lot of advertising money from it. So.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea.
Yeah. Do a search on YouTube for Nibiru Planet X and and you'll see sort of these videos, and they get like millions of views, but you can also see in the comments, people are like, hey, you said it was going to show up on March 28th, and then you said it was going to come up on April 13th. And yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm seeing this 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Nibiru is near.
So you found it. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not clicking on these. I do not want my YouTube to ever suggest any kind of crap like this. This is terrible.
But you know, if you want actual space news and astronomy news and science explanation, subscribe to my channel.
Yeah. If you guys want actual real information that's not trying to scare you to death. Wait, hold on. Look at this. I'm going to take my face away for a second. This is incredible, guys. Oh man. Some of this art.
And you know what's crazy is, like, look at the advertisements. Like, there's some pretty legit advertising that is on these videos, which I'm sure the advertisers would not be pleased about, but you know.
Oh,
what can you do?
May 4th, May 12th.
Oh, it's happening.
Rip us. We're so done. Oh, that's so. I had no idea. I had no idea. What have you done? I didn't click on anything, guys. I didn't click on anything. No. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not. Oh, I'm protecting my YouTube and the sanctity.
So we've been debunking this for probably, again, 20 years. In fact, Phil was debunking it before I even got into the space news business. So he's probably been debunking it for 25 years.
And what's the whole idea of it? I know it sounds like you're probably. I know. I really stay away from fake news. Like
good.
I hate it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so there was some woman like 25 years ago who said that this mystical planet predicted by the Sumerians was on its way and it's in the sky, and people were making sightings, and any time now it was going to pass the Earth and cause our poles to flip and our, like I said, our chakras to come unaligned. And it, you know, never showed up, but it's sort of a meme, and so people just keep, I guess it, you know, it is a very well self-contained meme that then people can just keep repackaging and representing and suck in another new group of people every year that say that this thing is existing, and they keep saying like, oh, this planet is on its way and it's going to, you know, within the next couple of months or weeks or whatever, like I said, again, flip our poles and cause us to enter the age of Aquarius and so on, right? So, and it's not real, and obviously any astronomers would know and would see it, and in fact anybody with a telescope would be able to see it. And so it's too bad. It's unfortunate. And now I also know that you've got to know that there are some people who are making money off of it, right? They make a lot more money from their ads than I do from my website, from my YouTube channel. You know, they get a lot more subscribers than I do because, you know, they're freaking people out, and I guess that seems to do well.
Yeah, so. And I feel like that's such a cheap way to go, especially with news like this that's really fascinating and interesting. You know, astronomy is such a great outlet for people to go and wonder, and their brains can get carried away with thinking about things. But I feel like that's just a little bullshit.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I just ignore it. I just ignore it, and you know, it's the same thing with the flat earthers, right? I mean, they jump in and say really mean things. I'm sure they do it to you as well. You know, like there's only so many times you do a story about how many satellites are in space, and then you get death threats.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Why am I getting death threats? Because I'm excited about what's going on. And so you just ban them, and you
get rid of
them. They don't exist.
Yeah. Luckily with Twitch, I haven't had too much of that. I've had a few weird emails in the past, but other than that, like, it doesn't really. And it's not a great place. Like, usually, see, my chat will just meme them out of here anyways. Yeah. So that's what we usually do, is we try to fight, you know, them being funny with funny. Are there any astrological studies going on in Antarctica? That's a good question.
What's your sign from Antarctica?
That's really interesting.
So I don't know about the astrological studies that are going there, but the astronomy studies going on there are awesome. So Antarctica is probably the best place in the world on the surface of the world to put a telescope, because the skies are clear and cold, and there's no light pollution and there's no air pollution. And there are these sort of high plateaus in Antarctica where people have posted these telescopes, and they have to run them, remotely, but they're fantastic. And one of them contributed to the Event Horizon telescope image, which is currently being gathered together. And actually, that was one of the reasons why it's taking so long, was because they had a telescope in Antarctica that had to take a bunch of pictures, radio observations of the supermassive black hole at the heart of the Milky Way, and then they had to wait for the Antarctic summer, wait for the planes to show up, and then they could fly the hard drives carrying all the data out of Antarctica and back to the rest of civilization to be able to sort of merge all the data together. So we're still waiting to see that first picture of the event horizon around a supermassive black hole. But there are a bunch of other observatories. Many different countries have observatories in Antarctica, and it's one of the best places to go.
Yeah, don't they have a solar telescope down there too?
I don't know.
I think there's.
But they have a neutrino telescope there. So they have this thing called Ice Cube, which is this like neutrinos pass through the Earth, and
Right.
so it doesn't really matter where you put your observatory. And so they've set up these detectors in this huge sheet of ice at various depths into the ice, and then these detectors can sense when a neutrino interacts with any of the water and releases a cascade of particles. And so it's sort of this enormous, it's like the biggest neutrino detector in the world, and it's in Antarctica. So it's a great place for science, for sure.
Yeah, no, my grandpa actually it was the one that was the scientific leader of Bird Station back in the 50s, late 50s. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
So your grandfather went to Antarctica?
yeah, no, he was
Oh,
a part of
wow.
the International Geophysical Year. So he was
That's
he
amazing.
studied the ionosphere and the sun and how the sun would affect that in ham radio communication. He has
Yeah.
a glacier, a ridge named after him.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So
That's awesome.
I used to go and he was down in Antarctica in the late 50s, and then I think it was like 56 or 57. So he went back 2 times, and it was brutal. He would talk about stories where people would go out to go take samples of certain ice and they wouldn't come back. So, and he said penguins were really annoying too. I found out that penguins were really annoying. But then he actually moved to Maui and did some ionospheric research there as well for, at that time, it was the National Bureau of Standards, I think. Before it was NIST. Now it's NIST.
Right.
So he did stuff down there and studied the ionosphere there, but it was a beautiful place to go. So I'd go visit him, and I would just sit in his ham radio room with him.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it's really cool.
You see what's happening in Hawaii right now?
Yeah.
Like, it just exploded, right?
Yeah, and that's what people are saying. Talk about the volcano stuff. I saw a few questions there. Do you want to talk
I don't have
about
any
that?
answers. It's sort of just unfolding right now. So
Yeah.
it looks like there's a really big ash cloud.
Ash
It's like
cloud.
30,000 feet
Yeah.
up, erupting out of Kilauea. So yikes.
Yeah, I thought that we weren't supposed to get an ash cloud.
Well, that volcano apparently doesn't explosively erupt, or hasn't since like 1926. Apparently, I do know a lot of information about this.
You do?
Yeah, hasn't erupted since like 1926 in any significant way. And over the last couple of months, they were getting all of these bigger fissures opening up and lava flows, and people's houses got wrecked, and now it went kaboom. But not like Mount St. Helens,
Right.
but still a pretty big.
Yeah, someone said
big
30K
eruption.
feet.
Yeah, 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
And so they're having to like be really careful about how they fly airplanes around the island now, because that stuff is murder on aircraft engines. So
Wiki says Moth 2 solar telescope being installed in Antarctica.
oh, there you go.
Yeah, I thought there was something going on with that. But someone actually asked a really good question, and this was something that I was doing my own research. So we used to have an observatory here on Mount Evans, which was at one time the highest observatory, or at least they put a little asterisk next to it and said, we think so, at least. But it was about 14,000 feet. So it'd be on what we call 14ers. So some of our mountains are, you know, very, very tall. But this was on Mount Evans, and it got the telescope, the whole observatory actually got completely destroyed by winds. And I just read because I was thinking I'm going to go up there. I was like, because you can drive a road up there, and I could do some stuff up there. But I just recently read that they are not going to be able to repair it because no one was funding the repair of it. So that kind of sucks. But the thing that they were talking about is how condensation or humidity can affect looking through a telescope. So someone was asking how, and I'm trying to track it down now. Where was it? If someone was asked, how much humidity, not including condensation, affects an image taken by a telescope?
Tons. So when you set up your telescope when you first set it up in the evening, you're going to get dew forming on the telescope because the telescope is going to be warmer, and you're going to take it outside, which is kind of cooler. And so you're going to get dew all over the telescope. So you have to sort of let it you take your telescope out a couple of hours before you're going to do any observing, so that the temperatures will equalize and the dew goes away. But then the humidity in the air itself is a problem. And so even though you may have like a really clear night, like no clouds in the sky, you could have a lot of just moisture in the air, and that will make your seeing really bad. And so astronomers have sort of different ways that they describe what the seeing is. And you've probably had those nights where you go outside and you look up and the stars are just surprisingly crisp and bright. And that's because there's just not a lot of atmospheric haze or moisture in the air, and you've just got this really clear view to the night sky. And they're actually pretty rare. A lot of the times you've got some problem in the air that's causing less than ideal seeing. I mean, you can still see objects, but it's not the same as those really, really clear night skies.
But you can sometimes see really cool effects, like the ring around the moon.
Sure, yeah.
And that's pretty. I've seen that in Philadelphia quite a bit because it's very humid there.
Yeah, well, that's ice crystals.
Yeah,
right?
that's ice crystals in the atmosphere.
Yeah, and what's amazing about that is the distance, the degree distance that the halo is happening corresponds to the shape of the ice crystals and the angles on the ice crystals.
Yeah. Those are really cool. I don't know if anybody else in the chat has seen those, but they're really.
You can see them in the daytime too. They're called sundogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
If you could see, if you see the sun and you see, like, you'll see on the left and right hand side of the sun, you will see these second suns, right? And those are called sundogs, and they are refraction of the sun's light through. You typically see them sort of when the sun is lower on the horizon, and they're awesome. We just posted a picture that someone had taken that was in fact I can show a sundog on my camera anyway, on my phone. But you can actually, someone had a double sundog, so it was like there was like a double rainbow, but it's like a sundog and then another sundog over to the side of it. Here, I have a recent sundog. Here you go. Let me see if this works.
Yeah.
So that's a sundog.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
A double sundog? What does it mean?
What does it mean, double sundog all the way?
Someone just said, I've seriously never heard of anyone talking about the moon rings. Yeah. I knew it was it's crystals, ice crystals, and I saw it too. I don't see it too much here in Colorado, but I did see it out on the East Coast.
Yeah, so you can see them in just like and that's why you can see them, say, in like Florida, and it's just the amount of humidity in the air, and they're ice crystals at those really high altitudes. And the different sizes, sometimes you'll see multiple rings, and that's because there's sort of it's the shape of the crystals, and you're getting a refraction from one angle, and then a different refraction from another angle.
Yeah, and that's why someone said, I've also seen a moon halo with rainbow rim from a central. Yeah, you can get rainbows involved there too.
Yeah, you get a moonbow. and that's, and again, same kind of effect you can get. There's people have taken pictures of, is it like Bridal Falls? I think the name of the waterfall in like Yosemite Park, and you can actually get a rainbow coming from the illumination of the moon captured in a very long exposure photograph. So
Why do they call them sundogs?
I don't know. So if anyone can answer that one, I don't know why.
See, these are the questions I ask Pamela, and every time she's like, I don't know. I'm like, why is it called, the acronyms
She
for
doesn't know everything.
Yeah.
She just knows most things.
A good amount. A sundog or mock sun, formerly called a perihelion, plural perihelia in meteorology, is an atmospheric optical phenomenon that consists of a bright spot to the left or right of the sun. Two sundogs often flank the sun, but that doesn't say why dogs.
No, but
no, but moving on.
I mean, I'm sure we can imagine reasons, and if anyone can, find out why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what would be really cool is I was, one of those star parties I've always wanted to. How available is Chaco Canyon? Like, could people go down there and observe down there? Have you been to Chaco Canyon?
No, where's that?
Oh, it's where they observed the supernova. I think it was the one in 1054. And they have like an actual, like some Indian paintings where they showed the sun, like a sun-like thing shining in the sky. And that's where they were able to document, like, this probably was around that same time. They probably saw the same thing. And Chaco Canyon's they also had this really cool thing with showing the seasons and how it would go through, the sun would go through certain rocks that they've angled.
Right. Well, you wanted some recommendations for some other guests, and I know a astronomy historian who could probably answer these questions for you. So I'll hook you up.
Yeah, that would be amazing. You guys would like some astronomy history? That would be great.
I really enjoy that kind of thing. This is just like sort of how people figured out some of the really interesting discoveries, and actually how advanced a lot of these ancient civilizations were with their observations of the night sky. Like when you look at the Gaia telescope, which is like the greatest catalog of star locations. Previous to that was the Hipparcos satellite, and that was named after a Greek astronomer named Hipparchus, who cataloged the positions of all of these stars in the night sky. It's amazing how well they were able to do this kind of thing, and
really far back.
Yeah, even far back. Yeah. So.
But yeah, they have these things. This is it. This is what I can show it on my stream here for everybody. That it says
take a look.
Great. It says UFO contact. Don't listen to that, guys. It's just not even right at all. So just don't pay attention to that. Copy image address, because Google is weird now with that.
Satan wants to know when Betelgeuse is going to go supernova.
Hopefully
any
soon.
day now.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, come on.
I know, we're waiting. So you can see that right there. See how the sun would pass through these two rocks, and they have this thing right here. They have a bunch of stuff like this there. That was kind of, oh, here's even a better one. Well, that's a YouTube video, but I can copy that image as well. It shows kind of how they have these dials. And of course now they're trying to be like, what does this mean? It doesn't mean any conspiracy, guys. These are people that just were one with the stars. That's what happens there.
They noticed that the stars return to the same location every year.
Yeah, exactly. And they were very big on it too. So there's a whole thing with Chaco Canyon. I think they have some ancient ruins there too for this kind of stuff. And I had to write a huge paper on it in one of my astronomy classes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I got to learn about some of that stuff. I don't want to link this stuff though. I feel bad because it's all going to like alien conspiracy things, but I'll still source it, guys. Just don't think that that's what I'm about. Ancient Greeks found out that the Earth is round. They did.
Yep, they knew.
Circumference and everything. And he was actually quite close with getting the circumference almost completely accurate.
Was it Aristarchus?
Aristophanes? I might say that wrong.
Yeah.
Aristophanes?
Aristophanes? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's the one that had Alexandria. He had like a guy run down. They were looking water and like looking at the well. I had to write a paper about that too. Now I don't remember.
that's how it works. I will, when I'm working on new episodes and I will write a script, you could an hour later say, "What was the episode you just did?" And I'm like, "I don't remember.
I have no idea.
I have no idea." Yeah.
And that was even a final question. I remember I got to choose the final questions, kind of being like teacher's pet, but that's just because I was so interested in astronomy.
Such a nerd.
I was such a nerd. Such a nerd. I even
Yeah,
held
not
like
anymore.
tutoring stuff for like the other students.
Yeah.
Yeah, not anymore. We're done with that life now.
Yeah, done with the nerdery now. It's not like you've, doubled down on the nerdery.
Wait, so Eludriel says they also believe the solar system was rotating around the Earth, though. Wait, the Indians at Chaco Canyon, or ancient Greeks?
The ancient Greeks, yeah, they hadn't figured out that the sun was the center of the solar system.
Yeah.
And they had come up with a very, very accurate way to describe how everything was rotating around the Earth, and was actually a lot more accurate than even Copernicus's model of the heliocentric solar system.
Yeah, they were pretty ahead of their time.
Ptolemaic.
Right, and that has a silent P, guys.
Yeah, the Ptolemy.
The Ptolemy. So I thought if Earth was rotating, you must get massive winds and such. They thought if Earth was rotating, you must get massive winds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad deduction, granted their time and technology and everything that they knew.
They didn't realize, the atmosphere, that it moves with the Earth, I guess.
Yeah, which is fairly accurate, but not at sea level.
Yeah.
Heliocentrism is a bit harder to prove than spherical Earth, but it's amazing how much they could do with the technology that they had at the time, someone just said.
Yeah, it took a long time for people to accurately figure out the distance to the sun, because everything is relative, right? You can measure all of the angles, but you don't have a lot of the initial baselines to get a sense of scale. So it really wasn't until they started to track transits of Venus that they were able to actually start to get a sense of how big the solar system was.
Yeah. So everybody's laughing at the name. Yeah, it's like pterodactyl, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So with Betelgeuse, did we get more information from the Gaia data release with Betelgeuse? The second data release?
It's probably in there. I mean, that's a fairly well-studied star already. So, why focus on that one star when there's another 999,999,999 other stars that were, revealed in the Gaia release?
Because that one's supposed to die.
I know, any day now.
We're just waiting. And do you think that that's possible that it could go in the next 100 years? Do you think it's a thing for our lifetime?
There is no way to know when it's going to go. So it could have already gone. It may not go for another 100,000 years. It's probably not going to be longer than that.
Right.
And the universe totally owes us a bright nearby supernova. I mean, the last one that we've seen was supernova 1987A, and that was in the Large Magellanic Cloud. So not even in this galaxy.
Yeah, and I think the one before that was in the 1600s. That was within our own galaxy.
Yeah, the Tycho's supernova.
Yeah, so we're long overdue. They're supposed to occur anywhere between 70 to 100 years per galaxy, right? Like one in a century. Yeah,
possibly even more common than that, but we won't see them because we're embedded in the galaxy, and so they can be obscured by the galactic plane. But yeah, they should be happening more often than we see, and we are definitely overdue for one.
Yeah, someone says, but please no gamma rays.
Yeah, we don't have to worry unless you're really close.
Yeah, and what's that distance? You remember? I think it's like within...
It's like 30. It's within tens of light years for a supernova to go off to cause you any problem. Gamma ray bursts are a bigger problem, and they can zap you from halfway across the galaxy, but you need to sort of be perfectly aligned with the death beam.
Yeah.
And then you can have your ozone layer stripped away, and then you get really, really bad sunburns. Really bad, guys. Yeah. You think that sunburns. Yeah. Like your DNA is no longer the same. And then someone said earlier, and they asked about when we were talking about Nibiru. Someone said, well, don't the magnetic poles flip anyways? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so the poles seem to flip every few 100,000 years, and there's plenty of evidence that this happens. And but because life is doing fine, and there doesn't seem to be any evidence of extinctions aligned with when the poles of the Earth have flipped, it's probably not a big impact when it happens.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. It's not a big deal. Don't even worry about it.
Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about I mean, your compass. You're gonna have to buy a new compass. Like that's done. You throw out your compass when it flips. Although apparently now it looks like it may not flip. Like, so people were concerned that it was about to flip.
Yeah.
And it was moving pretty rapidly, and now it looks like maybe it's not going to be the case. So who knows?
Yeah, I read about that as well recently too. That's really cool. Some guy just posted this in the chat. Looks like I don't know if you've created this or where you got this from, but you can. It's a nice. You could do 1 minute. You could do 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, and 1 year.
Oh, neat.
Do you see this?
No.
It's really
so it's like
cool.
an orrery.
It kind of of the solar system, not to scale, but that's actually really cool. He just posted that in the chat.
Well, there's a great, for the programmers out there, Python is the sort of beloved programming language for astronomers, and they've got just a ton of really great libraries for doing astronomy calculations, phases of the moon, positions of the sun, positions of all locations in the, things in the solar system. So, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that is made using that library.
Yeah, no, and he included Pluto too, guys. Pluto is on there right now. Fraser is blocking Pluto, so we'll blame him. But that is pretty much it. Thank you for coming on today, and
anytime
for all of the help, guys. Fraser has helped us get a lot of these guests on here, so we do owe a lot to him and future guests too. So, you guys check him out. His guest command is here, and all of his stuff is up there. So, thank you so much, and I will catch up with you later.
Sounds good. Well, we're going to see you on our show in 2 weeks. And then as soon as I've got some telescope, I mean, you might, your channel might be the perfect place to do some experiments.
Yeah, no, they'll be guinea pigs. They love it.
Yeah. So maybe I'll, bring a live telescope to the party, and we can take some requests and sort of see how well it works and how annoying the delays are and all that. So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Talk to you later.
No problem. Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye.
Thanks for playing my videos. I really appreciate that.
I love them.
I just dropped a new one at noon, the latest QA. So that just went out the door just an hour ago.
Well, I think we actually might watch that because my brain needs to rest. So this is I lean on my friends.
the biggest challenge is we're trying to figure out a name for a balloon launched rocket. So if you have any suggestions, we would love to hear it, because really that whole technology can't take off until someone comes up with a proper name. Like, I promise you, every name is terrible. Raccoons, Balockets. No.
So. All right. We're going to work on that, guys.
All right.
All right. Take care.
See you guys later.
Bye.